wanted to do this video broadcast on the proverb where it talks about how to guard our hearts. It says, above all else, guard your hearts, for out of it flows the wellspring of life. And imagine your heart like a well of water. And let's just say that well is just there, and it has good water in it. You know, the Lord has filled us with His goodness and filled us with His new life. You know, but we got to stay on guard because the enemy is going to try to come and dump stuff in that well that is not fitting for us as Christians. He's going to try to throw dirt into the well, make the water bad, so that we're going to act out in a way that gets us into trouble. So we got to really guard our well. And you know, heart and mind in the Bible were very closely related because it says, you know, in one passage of Scripture, as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. And so when we let our thinking go to anything that is really going to lead us into temptation, that's where we first make our first mistake. We gotta really stop the thought right before we start to think about it, and it becomes a temptation for us because it's like you get an ad that pops up on your computer. You can either choose to look at it or click on the link. You know, sometimes you'll get a suspicious link, you know, and the hacker won't have any access to your computer or your files or anything else unless you click that link. But by clicking the link, you give them an open door to basically take your computer hostage or do whatever they're going to do with it, or download spyware. And that's why they say if you get a suspicious link from somebody and you don't know what it is, don't click on it. Just leave it alone. Don't even touch the thing. Just delete it and go on. And that's kind of what we have to do with our thinking. There's some times where we'll just have a thought pop into our head, and we'll know, well, this isn't a thought that I should really be having. You can think, for example, one morning I woke up, kind of had a bit of a judgmental thought pop into my mind about somebody, and I started to think about it, and then I caught myself. I'm like, why am I thinking this? What good will this actually accomplish? Why am I even thinking about this person? And so I just stopped it right then and there, and boom, it disappeared. You know, and that's what James says, where he says, draw near to God, and He will draw near to you. Resist the devil, and he will flee from you. There's a lot more we have control over than we give the Bible credit for, because the Bible seems to suggest we have a lot more control over how we end up feeling, or what we end up feeling in our hearts through what we choose to think about. Like, take for example, in the Song of Solomon, it says, do not awaken love until it desires. Which Solomon is basically saying, don't stir up emotions for another human being or fall in love with somebody until that proper time comes. When it's right person, right. You know, a lot of people say, you know, women especially sometimes say, well, I just can't help falling in love with this guy. I just, you know, I can't help how I feel. I mean, you know, and sometimes people make it sound like they can't help whether they fall in love with someone. Of course we can. We can help a lot of things we oftentimes don't think we have any control over. You know, and just imagine if the woman, you know, felt attracted to this guy and she knew he was, and let's say he was not a good guy, he was bad news, and so she just shuts it off immediately and says, I'm not going to think about that guy. I'm not going to think about what it would feel like to be with him or to fantasize about any of the possibilities that I am about to think of. We choose to shut down those thoughts like we do a fire that breaks out. We grab the fire extinguisher, we put it out right away, and we go on our way. And that's kind of like how our thinking becomes. Our thinking can easily lead us into sin if we do not keep a careful watch over what goes on inside our heads. That's so true. It's so true. Just say, for example, that person cuts you off in traffic. You can think about how outrageous they were to try to cut you off. Who do they think they are? Who on earth? Why did they pass me on that side of the road? Who do they think they are? By thinking those kind of thoughts, by entertaining the thought in our head and thinking about how bad that person was for doing it, we replay it in our minds and we make the anger worse. God bless.